Should somebody maybe go and check on Paul Heyman, make sure he's okay? I don't think these new Bloodline members like him all that much. Also, while it's technically not the go home SmackDown for Clash at the Castle, this show kind of feels like it is, at least in the de facto sense. Let's take a look at that. These are my assorted thoughts for the June 7th, 2024 WWE SmackDown. Welcome to Silo Voice Wrestling on YouTube, the Silo Voice Wrestling podcast from Silo Voice Studios in Montreal. I'm Jason C. McLean. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and of course, ring that bell for notifications to get all my wrestling hot takes, cold takes, simmering takes, WWE PLE predictions and reviews, wrestling opinion pieces, and the newest feature, assorted thoughts on both Raw and SmackDown. And speaking of SmackDown, the official go-home show for Clash at the Castle is the night before in Glasgow, Scotland. But I've discovered with these international PLEs, the go-home SmackDown really feels more like a pre-show, a preview show. Yes, they actually have a pre-show the next day, but it feels more, it's in the same building. It's the same crowd, the same like really excited international crowd. It seems like it's really leading into it, not in the way a go-home show would. So this show in Louisville, Kentucky at the KFC Yum Center on June 7th felt more like it was occupying that go-home role. But let's take a look at that. Well, the first thing we're going to go into is not anything go-home related, not anything related to any of the matches at Clash at the Castle, but rather the ongoing saga of the new Bloodline. Solo Sikoa's music hits, and he comes out followed by Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, and of course Paul Heyman. Now, officially, this was billed as the anointment ceremony for Tonga Loa, but really it served as a way for Solo to make Paul Heyman acknowledge, forgive the pun, that Solo was now sitting at the head of the table until Roman returned, that Tama Tonga was the right-hand man. I mean, I guess they got rid of MFT rather than explain what that stood for, but he's the right-hand man. And Tonga Loa is the infamous Tonga Loa. And mainly to get Paul to thank them both for saving him last week. And they both got really close with him, very intimidating, like very bullying, like, and they made him, yes, thank you, sir. Like basically a thank you, sir, and saying the names right, basically to put Paul on the spot and make him feel really uncomfortable. Classic, like, power move bullying technique, clearly designed to intimidate Paul. But of course, it was broken up by Kevin Owens' entrance and then the Street Profits. Then backstage, Solo's even more intimidating. Solo tells Paul that he has to either make a six-man tag between the Street Profits and Owens versus the Bloodline, or the main event of the night would be Paul Heyman versus Tama Tonga in the Bloodline's dressing room. Now, of course, Paul obliges, and this was a little bit more intimidation from the new boss, or the interim chief, or whatever Solo's called. But even in Paul Heyman's scared character, I love the way he still got a bit of comedy into it. He still mumbled, "I like the six-man even better." And the six-man tag, which capped off the show, was a good match. Street Profits and Owens looked strong. So did the Bloodline. But of course, Solo ended the match early with a steel chair, causing a disqualification, leading to the group pushing Owens through the announce table, which broke, and then all of them doing the one-fingered salute. Of course, the wise man looked horrified during all of this. Eventually, at the end, grudgingly holding up one finger just as SmackDown went off the air because he knew he had to do it. Just like Solo, I think, knows he has to keep the wise man around for legitimacy. He's probably really not talking to Roman. I think Paul Heyman suspects that. But the way they're treating this, the way they're showing the intimidation, basically the bullying of Paul Heyman, Roman is going to come back, and he's probably going to come back to a massive babyface pop. Does this mean that Heyman's going to be a babyface too? Is that what they're setting up? That would be really interesting. I don't know how long they can sustain that, but that would be really interesting. Of course, maybe Heyman could realize the Rock's pulling the strings on the other side and abandon Roman, although that would be kind of out of character for him, even out of his heel character, but maybe not. Who knows? It seems like the most interesting aspect of the Bloodline is which side is Heyman going to take, or what's going to happen to Paul Heyman. I didn't think that's where we'd be a year ago, but let's just say it's very impressive. And yes, WWE moves at a glacial pace, so we're not there yet, but we will be there soon enough. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Of course, this wasn't per se at this point setting up for Clash at the Castle. And we are talking about this in the context of a de facto go-home show. So there was plenty of stuff on the show that was setting up for Clash at the Castle. There was setting up Bayley versus Piper Niven, more specifically, setting up Piper Niven as a credible threat and as someone with purpose, not just Chelsea Green's lackey. In fact, they made Chelsea Green more of the lackey this time. Now, I don't think Piper's going to win, and I don't think she's going to get that much crowd support, even though she is Scottish. Bayley is beloved in all of the UK. That's where the "Hey Bayley" chants came from, or the singing came from. Bayley's still going to go over. Not quite sure how the match is going to go, but I think Piper's going to put on a good show. I think she's going to come close to winning. Maybe Chelsea's going to mess things up for her, and that's going to set up a feud between them in the future. But Piper talking about her real story, how she got here the hard way rather than walking in the door with NXT. That's interesting. It gives the match stakes. It gives it purpose. It means even though this feud's probably not going to go much beyond Clash at the Castle, it's definitely building up Piper as a worthy contender and potentially setting her up for bigger things in the future. Also, for the first hour of the show, they kept cutting back to Cody Rhodes backstage, waiting for AJ Styles. There's some good back and forth with Cody and Nick Aldis, who, by the way, is all over this show, the SmackDown general manager there. Eventually, AJ does show up with the Good Brothers, with the rest of the OC, and security's there. So Cody, just at the top of the 9 o'clock hour, heads to the ring. He calls out AJ. AJ comes out. There's a lot of back and forth. And to make a long story short, we have not only a match for the undisputed WWE Championship at Clash at the Castle, Cody defending against AJ, but it is a last man standing match at Cody's request. I loved how they did this. They showed Cody being strong. He was the guy who was pissed off. He knew he was going to end up giving a title match, but he made it the kind of match where he could really, as he said, make AJ do what he should have done last week and say, "I quit." I think we have a real program between these guys. Obviously, I think Cody's going to win because I don't see him losing the title this quickly. So that means there probably isn't going to be a third match. But we have a great championship match, a grudge match that came seemingly out of nowhere for Clash at the Castle. Well, it came out of last week and it came out of AJ. I didn't see it coming last week. I kind of thought something like this might happen this week, and I'm glad that it did. I'm glad for the way that it did. I thought they were going to go with Hell in the Cell, but no. Last man standing. Of course, the main event I still think has to be Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. So maybe this match will open the show. I don't know. It's kind of weird not to put Cody in the main event spot, but it's Scotland, so it makes sense. We also had WWE Women's Tag Champions Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair pretty easily defeating Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, only to be jumped after the match by Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, and Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. And eventually the champs got rid of both of them. And later they announced that they went to Nick Aldis and requested and got a triple threat match. I gotta say, champions requesting triple threat matches when they clearly don't have the advantage has got to be the new babyface power move in the Triple H era. Sami Zayn did it last time. Now Cargill and Belair are doing it. Of course, I think the reason why it's a triple threat is because they want to get Fire and Dawn on the card because they're Scottish, have as many Scottish performers on the card as possible. And they are good, but I don't think the two of them versus Cargill and Belair would be a believable PLE match on its own at this stage. So putting in Baszler and Stark, two veterans that, aside from like lack of real good storyline behind them, should be contenders for tag championships. Putting them in the match is going to make it a much better match. I'm going to talk about the match itself on my Clash at the Castle predictions video, but I like the way that this match came into existence over the course of two shows and how it seems to make sense and how they use this show to set up yet another match on the PLE. Another thing that wasn't at this point related to the PLE, though, was LA Knight, backstage, searching for Logan Paul. Of course, he didn't find him, but he did find Nick Aldis, who knew that Logan was at a Tetris tournament. I believe that's true. And then Carmelo Hayes found the group. And I did enjoy the way that LA Knight talked about playing quote-unquote Tetris against Logan and how he gave Aldis the idea for his match against Carmelo Hayes, which was a good match, but clearly LA Knight won. I don't know what they're doing with Carmelo, but LA Knight won. and then used his victory to again call out Logan Paul on the mic. And later in the show, Logan responded via video. Logan, of course, rebuffed the challenge. But we all know this match is going to happen. I think we all want this match to happen. I, for one, wanted this match at WrestleMania. Logan Paul defending the United States Championship against LA Knight. It's the perfect feud for LA Knight, and I think it's the perfect chance for him to win a championship. Now, the logic says this should be a SummerSlam match, but SummerSlam's still a bit of a ways away. Maybe they'll do it at Money in the Bank. It's obviously too close for Clash at the Castle. The question then becomes, what do you do in the interim? Now, Carmelo Hayes would be an interesting opponent for LA Knight, but he already beat him, and they could run it back, but I think they want to, maybe give Carmelo Hayes some victories. Maybe they just do promos back and forth. Maybe Logan challenges him to Tetris, and if LA Knight beats him in Tetris, they could actually have the championship match. I don't think that's going to happen. Also, interesting to note that even though Logan Paul wasn't on SmackDown in person, his Prime logo was on the ring, and it wasn't on for the last PLE. That's interesting. But regardless of that, I'm definitely curious to see when this match finally happens, and I'm excited to know that it is happening. That's not all that happened on this stacked SmackDown from Louisville. A-Town Down Under, aka Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, seem one step closer to splitting and possibly losing the tag titles to DIY. Next week, apparently, there's going to be a Grayson Waller effect, where Grayson and Austin welcome Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. Let's see where that goes. Also, we set up a match between Her Royal Highness Queen Nia Jax, long may she reign, and Michin. I guess Michin's still a babyface, while the rest of the OC is clearly not. And we also set up a match between Naomi and Chelsea Green, so that should be interesting. These all are matches for the official Go Home SmackDown, which I'm calling the Clash at the Castle pre-show, day before pre-show. So that's how I saw this SmackDown. How did you see it? Did you agree with my points? What I thought was important? Do you have different opinions? Again, do you like this new format? This is still a new format, these assorted thoughts. Please let me know in the comments. Follow at Silo Wrestling on X, at SBS Reviews on Instagram and Facebook, and me at Jason C. McLean on X and Instagram. And of course, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. I will be back with assorted thoughts on Monday's Raw. Also, my predictions for Clash at the Castle. So definitely check those out. For Silo Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean.